Hey everyone, welcome back. Transition is about preparing, and it's being ready for that next door to open. The thing you want to do though is you want to be holding the keys and you want to turn that knob yourself. So let's get into round 43 of the tactical transition tips. This time the topic is create your own opportunities. And for the close range group, those of you looking at your transition right away, maybe a year from now, hoping is not a plan. And for the medium range group, those of you looking at your transition in about 5 years or so, learn skills that keep you in demand. And for the long range group, those of you who've got at least a decade to go, you're just starting out in your career, helping others helps yourself.
You transition out is try to model all of the good things, the discipline, the structure, that little bit of rigidity into your everyday life. And I think that that's a great way to make that transition happen, man.
Take the time to invest in yourself because it means everything. That's what the difference is. The difference is not just to collect a check. It's to live 25 years, 30, 40 years after you retire and pay it forward that way.
Close range group. Hoping is not a plan for your success. Waiting for what's right or what seems like the perfect next opportunity just keeps you in a holding pattern. All that waiting does is cost you time. It definitely costs you energy, and it causes you or adds more stress to your life. You have to be thinking about creating your own opportunities. Those of you that are looking at your transition, or maybe you're right in the middle of it, you need to be creating those opportunities now. You need to first realize that you have skills, you have connection to people, and you have value, but most important, you have a drive that comes from these careers. And you need to lean on all of that as you approach your transition. The first thing you need to do is, once you figure out what your future job is, what industry you want to get into, if there's a specific job you want as opposed to a general industry that you want. And this always comes back to what works best for you, what works best for your family, what works for you geographically in the sense of, are you staying, are you moving? All those things factor in, but also what's going to drive you. Once you figure that out, you need to be immediately looking at targeting some network events, some job fairs, or something that's going to allow you to get in front of people that are operating in that industry. Ideally, people that are in some position to where they have influence over you potentially being hired. You need to go to these events with intention in your mind as opposed to just being present. It's your opportunity to market yourself and sell yourself. It's not just let me see how many business cards I can collect. Anybody can collect business cards. You want the people that you're collecting business cards from, though, to remember you. Have your elevator speech prepared. Be able to talk to anybody in a manner that is succinct, that is direct and to the point, but tells them what you're looking for and what you can offer to a company like theirs. Practice that speech, have it down so that whoever you bump into under any circumstance, it may not be at the actual network event. It could be outside in the parking lot as you're walking to your car, or you stop if it's a convention center or something, maybe they have a restaurant or a bar. You don't know who you're going to run into and when you're going to run into them. Have that speech ready to go. You want to reduce the, I'm Be prepared. Practice that speech. If you're not currently on LinkedIn, my first question is going to be why? Why are you not on LinkedIn right now? What are you waiting for? This is no way around it. This is the industry standard for business. You need to be on LinkedIn and marketing yourself. You need to take the opportunities to show who you are. Get onto any type of page that revolves around the industry or the job that you want. Whether it's try to get involved in some of the groups that might be related to that. Start making connections with people that are in that industry. And then when they post comments, when they post whatever it is, be interjecting so that you start getting your name out there. But again, post with intention and purpose, not just, hey, that's a good post. Engage with them. Actually, maybe read the article that they put out. Try to give a spin on it or your impression of it, or work your experience in what you've done that might relate to what they're talking about. Regardless of what the environment is or what the topic is, you want to be presenting yourself in the best light. You want to be posting so that what you're presenting adds value and hopefully furthers the conversation so that maybe you can get into a back and forth with maybe not necessarily the original poster. It could be somebody who they're connected with who's posted something that you're now going to engage them in a conversation. You never know where it's going to lead to. But the thing is, you got to remember, it's got to be intentional and it's got to be purposeful. Additionally, you need to be doing research on the companies that you want to get to, the companies that fit you and what works best for your skill set, what drives you, all those things. Find those companies. Then when you've identified those companies, look for people that work for those companies. Again, I'm referring to using LinkedIn. Use LinkedIn purposefully. Look for those people that are in those companies. And then if you can, try to do some legwork, look into their backgrounds, look at their previous job history. Most everybody posts all their prior jobs. Find those veterans, find those former first responders, start reaching out to those people. It could be something as a simple 5 or 10 minute phone call. Most people are going to be willing to take a call from you, especially being a fellow veteran or a fellow first responder. But again, you're not just simply, hey, I'm so-and-so, can you get me a job? It's, I'm trying to learn more about the company you work for. I'm trying to learn more about the job that you do and how what I'm doing now transfers and transitions to what you're doing. I'm looking for your help. And to a degree, you've got to be a little humble in this process. If they're local to you and you have the opportunity, offer to take them to a cup of coffee. Something simple. It doesn't need to be some grandiose thing, but just, hey, I'd like to meet. I'd like to pick your brain. If you got some time, how can I make it easy for you? I'll come to wherever is convenient to you. But again, you're trying to find out more about the organization that you want to get to utilize and leverage that information when you get into the hiring process. I would say that the most important thing to think about is you're at a very short window of opportunity here because your transition is literally right around the corner, if not already in the middle of it. But you can still be purposeful. But I would say step out of your bubble and create opportunities for yourself. Show that you're committed to your future when you go into these next interviews, whoever they're with, but that you weren't just sitting back going, yeah, I spent X number of years doing X job and I have these skills and all the jobs are just going to start pouring my way. That's not necessarily how it's going to work. Not saying it never does, but don't bank on that as your transition plan. If something happens to fall in your lap, great. But you need to be going out there and pushing the pace and creating your own opportunities. This episode is brought to you by Soflete, a tactical fitness company founded by special operations soldiers. Soflete is dedicated to helping you achieve a healthy lifestyle. From expertly crafted training programs to high-quality proteins, pre-workouts, and sleep and recovery supplements, they've got everything you need to power through your day. Soflete also has a full line of clothing. They have you covered from shorts to cold weather gear. Embracing the motto, Die Living, Soflete inspires us all to embrace life with vigor and resilience. So take the first step towards a healthier you. Visit soflete.com. That's SOFLETE.com. And use the promo code TDP2024 to get 20% off your order. Again, that's TDP2024 for 20% off your order. Medium Range Group. You need to be doing today what's going to keep you in demand tomorrow. You need to be staying ahead of the curve. Any other analogies you want to put in there? But bottom line is, don't simply rely on what you know now or the job that you're doing now to think that you're still going to be relevant 5 years down the road. You need to be looking at those careers and industries that you want to transition into and say to yourself, am I going to be viable in 5 years? Is what I currently know, what I currently am trained in, what my current experiences are, is that going to make me marketable 5 years down the road, 6 years down the road, whenever your transition is? Then from there, once you have the field that you want to get into and you say to yourself, okay, I need to make myself marketable, I need to stay ahead of the curve, become a student of that industry, of that job. Get to know and learn everything you can about it. Because what you're going to do is you're going to stay ahead of the curve. Read everything that you can on that industry. Set up Google alerts, and I'm not going to walk through this process. You can go on Google and find out. But basically, you can set up alerts that anytime any news article comes out on a particular topic, you will be alerted. It'll go to your email inbox. And that way you can start just each day, check your email, see what new articles are out there, see what new trends are popping up. Just keep yourself current. If you find that there's something drastically new or things are drastically changing, one of the things, it's easy to kind of jump on AI right now, but the one thing, if you're not aware of this, is the talk of quantum computing as it relates to AI and their growth together. That is definitely an industry and a topic that we all need to be staying on top of, not just from a professional standpoint, but the impact that it's going to have on us personally. And the way they talk about passwords almost being non-existent anymore because of the ability to crack all this stuff so rapidly. So when this actually happens, and they talk about it, it's not far off. It's probably in that 5-year window. It's going to have a drastic impact on our society. Now, I don't know if that's the industry you want to go in. I'm just using that as an example of it behooves you to stay on top of this topic and see its development so that you're not playing catch up. If you can, over these next 5 years, set your goal of identifying that career field you want to move into, whatever it is, try to get one new certification or training course each year on something new within that industry. If you think about it as an investment in yourself, you're putting money in that bank of your marketability. It may not be something that your current organization will send you to that training. Pay for it out of your own pocket, assuming that it's feasible. I mean, I don't know what each of your financial situations are, but if you can afford it, if it's relatively local to you, I mean, I'm not suggesting that you fly to Belgium or something like that, but hey, if you want to, that's great. But what I'm getting at is that investment in yourself. Obviously, you can read every new article and everything else that comes out, but if there's a way to get another certification under your belt or another training class under your belt, ideally, if you can go to these in person, because again, that marketability. You never know who you're going to interact with when you go to these classes. So not only go there to learn the new information, get the new certification, make sure you're going there with intention and purpose of seeing who you can meet and creating and building your network. Really work on getting a transition mentor right now in these next 3 to 5 years. The first thing you would focus on is obviously somebody who's been successful. I'm sure if you've listened to other episodes, I've talked about how if you can see somebody who hasn't been successful, utilize what they've learned, obviously, to try not to replicate those same mistakes. But for the most part, somebody who's going to mentor you should be somebody who's successful in either their career transition or they're successful in the career field that you want to move into. If they meet both of those, that's even better. You want somebody, though, who is going to put you in front of the right group of people. They are going to be the one that is going to be almost kind of your success coach, that they're going to be vested in you succeeding and they want to see you succeed. And they're driven enough, not only in themselves, but they're driven enough to push you. You might already have that person in your network already. You just haven't realized that either they're available to you or you haven't sat down and really had that conversation with them of what your goals are and that you would like their help and their guidance. So identify that person. It may be somebody you already know. It may be somebody that you haven't met yet. Go back to your LinkedIn search, find that person. But whoever it ends up being, lock down somebody who can help guide you and is especially going to help push you. Whatever you're looking to transition into, whatever is going to be your next career, that's almost your why, your new mission. Make sure that that's clearly defined as opposed to, yeah, I think when I get there, I want to do X, Y, or Z, or I might want to do this, or maybe not being certain or clear with yourself is going to kind of hold you back from really having a purposeful mission over these next few years in getting to what you want to get to. You need that reason to stay focused. Your transition is coming. It's coming quickly. It might seem like you can push it off and you've got a little bit of time, but really that time's going to go quickly. So you need to have something that's going to create momentum in you and give you that sense of, hey, it's important to prepare for this and that I need to constantly keep moving towards what my goal is. Equally important, though, is getting on people's radar today. Whether you're using LinkedIn, you're going to training classes, it's somebody that you're working with now who might be in their transition that might be of value to you when you come to yours. Whoever it is, you need to start getting on those people's radar, especially if you can put yourself in front of or around people that are potentially going to be the ones that either are going to hire you or are going to have the ability to give you a good push or be that person to kind of champion your next job. Like, hey, boss, this is a great guy for this, and be that one that's going to cheerlead you at that next organization. When you get to that transition point, you're utilizing all of this stuff that you've been working on to, again, market and sell yourself. I'm so-and-so. I'm interested in working for your company. I want to do this job with your company. What I've done over the last 15, 20 years is in my career is all of this. But most important is these last few years, I've taken active steps to remain current, to remain well-informed and ahead of the curve of this profession or this industry so that I can be best prepared to help you and your company. If you think about it, your hiring interview is actually starting today. You need to be prepared for it 5 years down the road, as opposed to pushing it off and then hoping you can get prepared when your transition comes. This episode is brought to you by Trident Coffee, a veteran-owned brand and lifestyle. And while they're masters of cold brew, Trident's beans are roasted to create a flavor that shines whether you drink it hot or cold. There's no bitterness, there's no burnt taste, it's just good tasting coffee. Their coffees taste amazing hot, which is how I prefer it, while still designed to excel as a cold brew. But Trident Coffee is more than just great taste. Trident supports your wellness journey, featuring ingredients like organic mushrooms, adaptogens, and nootropics. It's made for those who enjoy good coffee and value quality and health. So if you're looking for a coffee that meets you wherever your day takes you, hot or cold, you need to check out Trident Coffee. I know I said I prefer hot coffee, but here's a tip from me. Mix their instant cold brew with your favorite protein for a protein coffee drink that's great cold. You can thank me later. I know there's a lot of coffee options out there, but give Trident a try. I know you'll enjoy it as much as I do. Head over to tridentcoffee.com and use the promo code TDP15 for 15% off your order. That's TDP15 for 15% off your order. Longrange Group. By you helping others today, you help yourself down the road. Your goal today should be everybody who is around you, whether it be a peer, whether it be a subordinate, whether it be a supervisor or somebody above you. Your mission, your goal should be that they all do better in their future. You want to be that person that kind of champions everybody, that their success is not because, or your success is not because of their failure. Simply trying to not help someone, if you go the opposite extreme and actually try to undermine them, that doesn't benefit you in the long run. It might give you a small win or the short win. It's the old, you might win the battle, but you're going to lose the war. Helping people. And if somebody, for whatever reason, in your career might be a peer of yours today and they could move above you, don't fault them for that. Be happy for them. Encourage each other. And hopefully that person will do the same for you. They may or may not, but at least you can look yourself in the mirror and go, that person wasn't held back by something that I didn't do or I couldn't do for them. You need to be, in a weird way, it's almost kind of like being a con artist or a fraudster. You need to be playing the long game. How does what you do today benefit you tomorrow? That's what you got to be thinking of. Don't be looking at the small wins on the day-to-day. Be looking at the wins at the far end. Also, anybody that is going to be a part of your future, a part of your career, is somebody that has the ability to help you. You may get to your transition and somebody that you helped out today may have already left the career. They got out early, whatever reason, and they were successful in something, whatever it is. But if they look back and they remember you as being helpful, encouraging, somebody that was a team player that always tried to help out and made sure that everybody around them did their best, they're going to remember that. And that could have a benefit to you down the road. It may not necessarily be that person's going to hire you, but it may be somebody that they introduce you to. So you always got to be thinking of not what you're gaining today. It's what you're gaining down the road. I would say that also put yourself in positions outside the job. Look at those groups or organizations in your community, in your whatever, if you've got a hobby or something like that. But again, it's putting yourself in a situation where you can just give. And in theory, you should be giving without the intention of what are you getting back? It should just be, I want to give because I want to see this entity succeed, whether it's a nonprofit group, whether it's your church group, whether it's your local school board, whatever it is. Put yourself in those extra situations because, again, you're going to be meeting people that have the long-term potential of benefiting you. You're ultimately always think about you're developing your network, and it's kind of like a garden. Right now, you're just starting to plant it. But 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, if you take care of that garden and tend to that garden, it's going to produce a lot more for you when the time is actually necessary. Be thinking about your next level. Your next level may not necessarily be your transition. Your next level may be the next team you're going to be working on, or the next promotion you might want to get to, or the next, location. Maybe you work at a location in X and you want to move to Y. Whatever your next level is something that's not necessarily your transition right now. But you want to put those pieces together. Your next level up or your next position has a long-term bearing on your transition away from these careers. So do everything you can at every level. If you move up, make sure even more you're now looking back to those subordinate or junior to you and make sure you're bringing them along. But at the same token, just because you move up in rank, authority, position, status, whatever word you want to use, that doesn't mean that the people that are on your level previously are now quote unquote below you. You want to bring them up, but then the people that are now on your level, again, you're right back into that mode of how can I help you? Hey, you're a boss, I'm a boss. What can I do to help? What can my team do to help your team? How can I assist you? It's always that perception of you're trying to give back. Now, I use the word perception and I use the word long game in con and fraud. There is a sense of you're kind of manipulating the scenario or the situation, but at the same token, be purposeful in it. Be genuine in the fact that you want to see that everybody does well, because at the end of the day, if everybody is doing well, that's going to not only bring your organization up, it's ultimately going to bring you up as well, because they're going to look at you in that positive light. But if you're doing it fake, or you're doing it to where it's very obvious that you're just going through the motions, people are going to see through you, and they're not going to like you, or however you want to say it. But you have to be mindful that the impression you make on people, they are going to remember you. Are they going to remember you positively or negatively? When you go to make your transition, if that new organization comes back and wants to get a flavor of what kind of employee you were, what are the people that you work with going to say about you at that point in time? Same token, somebody you work with now, if they leave your organization and they're at the new organization that maybe you want to get to, or they're in the environment that you want to get to, what are they saying about you when you start making your face known in those groups or organizations? So always be thinking, play the long game. Your greatest asset right now is, like I said, is growing this garden of connections, and call it your community, whatever it is. That's your biggest asset, because when you go to move away from this career, it's the adage is often said, it's not what you know, it's who you know. But it's not what you know, it's who knows you and who can talk positively about you. And hopefully the number of people that will potentially talk negatively about you will be significantly smaller, if not at all. I doubt that that's completely possible. I can't imagine that you're going to make everybody around you happy with you. There's going to be times where people are going to, for no other terms, they're going to blame you for their failures, especially if you're in a position of leadership where you have to point them out to them. But do your best. Work on growing your community of people who are supportive and encouraging of you moving forward. The most important thing that you can utilize from growing that community is when you go into that next job hunt is you can sell yourself that your goal is always to work with others to make not only them better, but to make the organization better. And again, you sell it as it's not about me. I'm not trying to do what I can to make myself better. It's what can I do to make those around me better? Because I know that then that makes the organization better. That's what I've done my entire career as a veteran or first responder, and that's what I want to do for your organization. So in closing, Close Range Group, hoping isn't a plan. Nothing's coming to you. You're not owed anything. You need to go get it. For the Medium Range Group, you need to make sure that you stay in demand. Will your skills today be valuable tomorrow? If not, make sure you keep yourself and your skills current. And Long Range Group, helping others helps you. Your coworker today is potentially going to be the person that's going to offer you or be the person who can champion you for that next job tomorrow. As always, thank you. I truly appreciate you taking the time to listen or watch the podcast. I always ask this. Please help me grow the podcast by following it, giving a thumbs up, a like, leaving a comment would be fantastic. I'd love to hear your comments, and share the podcast with anyone who you think might benefit from it. And until the next one, remember, success is at the intersection of where opportunity and preparation meet. Make sure you're at that intersection.